Hi, I'm Nelson Ford from the Gunsmith in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm doing some question and answers here. Gonna be fun. Mr. Ford, I have a question for you. There exists a parts kit to delete the internal lock on modern Smith & Wesson revolvers. However, I don't see many folks utilizing them. I am wondering, besides the cost and hassle, if there are any downsides to such a kit or whether it effectively deletes the Hillary hole. Well, I like to be honest, and that's what gets me in trouble. If we're going to do anything, we have to get the firing pin back on the hammer. But I will address your question. Getting the firing pin back on the hammer will reduce the amount of power we have to use to run the action and light up primers by at least 30%. That's a lot. And, I have to run some of these guns, L frames with the new firing pin system since 96. But it's new to me because I was open in 80. I have to run them at 64 plus ounces. And in fact, there's a local guy who's a private eye. He used to have a radio show. And we ran one of his up with a long firing pin to 68 ounces or 70 ounces. And he still had occasional misfires. You got some hard primers. You got Fiocchi and you got Magtech. Those are hard primers. But the old ignition systems light them right up. And so if you want to do anything, forget about the Hillary hole and buy guns with the firing pin mounted on the hammer. But I will address your question. There are kits out there. Good gunsmiths won't put them in. I have regular customers that have been coming to me for years. If they want me to take them out, I tell me, supply me with the part. I'm not going to buy it and put it in, but I'll put in something you supply with your gun. But it's a waste of time. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't cause problems. And I swear to God, the guy that did, there's one guy that said early on with a 357 J frame, and anybody wants to shoot magnums to a J frame, lightweight J frame, is a special kind of person. He said he got the lock to move or whatever. I have never put the key into one of those locks and turned it one way or the other. All you can do, if you turn it one way and you keep turning it the same way later, you'll strip the key, you'll strip it. It's just a waste of time. It's just to get them into California. California's a big marketplace. You can't have 10 round plus magazines there. And so it's a big feature to get a revolver in there. And that's why Smith & Wesson put those in there in 96 so they could sell the guns there. Is there a downside? I don't know. If it's not bothering you, leave it alone. Let's see. In about 1976, S&W went from bluing to oxide process. Can you shed some light on that? My favorite vintage guns are the 10-8 and 3 and 4-inch heavy barrels. It's neither here nor there. I did bluing from 1980 to 1987, and I used Brownell's Duelite, and it seemed to turn everything black. And the finish you get is the finish you leave it with. If it's got a mirror finish, it'll have a mirror blue. And so, I don't know what the bluing to oxide process is. As long as you're not painting them, it seems like that's all people do today. They paint them. If that works for you, it's fine. I'm an old guy. I like blued guns and nickeled guns and case hardened guns. And so I'm not sure what to tell you, but you should have a finish on there you like. So go with that. Nelson, question. What kind of 22 DA revolver would you recommend for plinking? I use semi-autos for CCW, etc. Loading cylinder under time is no go for me. I can't imagine using anything else but a Smith revolver. And every one of them, I don't care if it's from 1930 to date, I cut the chambers on every one of them. I use a climber finishing reamer in a 22 and a long rifle, and a 22 Magnum. I use a climber finishing reamer, and it's a different reamer. They're two different reamers, and you're going to be surprised at how much metal comes out of there when you cut them. And so use fluid, cutting fluid, and you'll find that they'll go in and out and fire. Because if they don't fit well and they're going in there and stopping, a minuscule above all the way down, and the firing pin hits it, the firing pin's going to move the cartridge. and it's going to fire the next time around when it has it seated. And so you need to have that chamber cut, and you need to keep them clean. Every 500 rounds, you should clean those cylinders really well. Hoppies number 9, good fitting bore brush, good fitting toothbrush, or a good toothbrush. Anybody that tries to sell you something else, walk away from them. Hoppies number 9 works. 66. Thanks for answering my question. Enjoy your channel. Not many guys have stuck with it as long as you. I went to Lassen in the 80s. I was on to a new career after about 10 years. And I lasted longer than most of the guys I went to school with. Has that been your experience? Guys I went to school with, most of them are still doing it today. But we went to school in the 70s. And I think it's a different kind of person. Today, people want something that's going to, give them what they want right away. And it took me 40 years to get my prices where I needed them. Always enjoyed anything about your gunsmithing. Pay rate versus knowledge, skill, needed to be good at it. Hopefully this YouTube does well for you. I find that if you focus on just a few guns and only check in those guns and make good on those guns, you're going to do better. If you try to do general gunsmithing, good luck. Are you aware of any contingency to maintain the power custom line of gunsmithing tools, and especially the oversized parts, so that they remain available? If not, would you be willing to mention any other sources for restoration? I use the original parts on every gun. I heat and bend the hand, and I switch the yoke to back up the cylinder. I don't need to change parts. If somebody's broken the gun so bad that it needs a hammer and trigger and whatever else, I ask the person to take it somewhere else. If the gun's been mutilated, I don't want to deal with it. Now, hi Nelson, I think it would be a good idea to have a video talking about 1911 magazines, including the bump on the follower. Andrew, I use Colt 7-round magazines for the 45s. The the Supers and the 9s, I use 9-round magazines. The officer's model, I use 6-round magazines. I don't add an extra round because if you look at a schematic of a 45 and you see the rounds in the magazine in the gun and you see the spring compressed in there, you'll find that there's no room for another round. The only way they could do it is putting in a collapsing follower. And the DeVell brothers started that. And then I think Chip McCormick bought it. And then Billy Wilson didn't want to spend the money for it, so he went with the Ohio follower. I could be wrong about everything I'm saying, but I should be close. And the shooting star follower that you see in 9 out of 10 guns today with the pintle wire spring, you leave that thing loaded in Phoenix, and we had 100 degrees today, and it's May 29th. We have 70 degrees in the morning. You leave one of those magazines loaded in your car in this state, and it won't hold the slide open after the last shot in 3 years or 4 years. The spring will be dead. And, I've seen guys say in magazines, the springs won't take a set. Whatever. I used to have guys when I shot at the National Guard Armory in the 80s, and that's where the Shooting Star follower started, the Shooting Star magazine. And or DeVell brothers, it said DeVell on them at first. And guys would come to me, it's not holding the slide open. And I said, well, I would go with the 7-shot mag, but if you're going to have to shoot speed matches and you need all 8 rounds, come up to my store Saturday morning. And I'd have 5 cars waiting for me when I got there. And we'd take them all apart on the counter, and they'd take them out of the magazine, and the spring was this much longer or this much longer than the magazine. It needs to be that much longer. And so we would take him and stretch him and then bend the last one up that's holding the follower up. And if guys had slide stops from non-Colt guns, they weren't right. I can't remember now. I shouldn't even open my mouth. But I think the Colt follower was 215 and 38 Super 9mm was 230. And I'm talking about the amount of distance it stuck into the gun. And if you have a super stop in there, and it's a 45, the ball rounds coming up will hit it and turn it on while you're shooting. And then people will want to put a dimple, in the back of it so the plunger can hang on to it and not make it come on. But you want it to come on so you know when you're empty. But at any rate, stick with Colt stuff. Colt 7-shot mags for carry, Colt guns for hold open. And guess what? Nobody is paying me to say this stuff. It's all coming out of my mouth on my own. Anyway, good questions. Send me some more. I love answering the questions. The ones I don't answer, I'm not sure how to answer them. Thanks for watching.